Ivy Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a production of Sonny Hirsch and myself, web, ntnm.org, community policing, caps24.org. It is always a pleasure to present to you one of the people I've met through the show and actually through Facebook and other things, but somebody who's very involved in the political process, somebody who's always got an intelligent point of view, somebody who's actually gotten me a lot of good guests over the course of time, and that is Kelly Tarrant. Kelly, how you doing?
Thank you. Very well, thank you.
And the name of, you work officially for Prarie?
Yes, Prarie Chicago Consulting, and that's www.prairiechicago.com. I'm on there. And it's through Fred Lebed, who's pretty noted in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I knew him many years ago.
Yeah, so it's a great experience. I've had a lot of clients through him, and we're doing really well.
Yeah, no, you definitely have. As a matter of fact, today we've got Bob Fioretti, and we've got Dr. Patricia Van Pelt-Watkins,
Right.
and we even had our very first indicted guest.
Yes, that was also a client of mine, State Rep Derek Smith. We did sweep the West Side this primary, despite the bumps.
Very effective campaign.
Yes, thank you. But I am especially proud of Dr. Watkins having won the 5th Senate District.
I have to say that's something that, I didn't write about it in Jewish Chicago basically because it's really not a Jewish neighborhood at all.
Right.
But you know what? I was very, very happy to see that.
I was too. It was
because she's really a good person.
Oh, she's fantastic, a genuine person, and a real maverick.
I like that word.
I like that word too. So I was very pleased to be part of that, and through also Alderman Fioretti, who is a very strong supporter of hers. It was fantastic to see the momentum, especially towards the end of the campaign, and the obstacles that she had to overcome in that campaign, having a lot of money, almost $500,000 of money and in-kind contributions coming at her.
Collerton, I know for a fact, was pumping big-time money into that race.
Big-time money, right. A lot of union support on the other side. Everyone's supporting the incumbent. But she remained focused. I was especially impressed with her campaign staff. Very disciplined, very focused. And just to the end, until the very end when we're watching the returns, we finally realized that it had happened. And that, for me, was like a personal victory to see something like that. Plus, she was my first female candidate that I've ever worked for.
Cool.
So this was especially a special thing for me.
She was one of the few really heartwarming things from my standpoint because
sure.
it really was like, the old-time forces of yuck versus her.
Right. And even, and having watched her when she was running for mayor, I was very impressed with the way she spoke and the things she spoke about and her stamina. But yet you knew in running for that it was such a long shot. And I remember thinking, my gosh, this is a great person. It's just not the right race right now. But then, in hindsight, I realized that really did launch her into the spotlight, her having done that. And it was a good thing she did do it. It was almost a good marketing plan, so to speak.
It's kind of funny because when I interviewed her, I didn't even realize that she had run for mayor until that day.
Yes, she did.
No.
And so then she had campaigned for that and continued then to campaign for the 5th Senate. So her campaign was especially long on her. Yeah, rigorous.
No, as a matter of fact, we were talking before the show. One of my really good friends that I know from the old J.B. Pritzker days, Rick Bone, contacted me late. Cullerton brought him into the race, and he was kind of retired. He had won a really great victory with Michelle Smith for alderman.
Okay.
And, he wanted to get Anjanette Collins on the show, but we were so overloaded with judges, we actually stopped filming, and there were at least a half a dozen people. I had to just say, I'm not filming anymore.
Right.
Even people that were taking out big ads in Jewish Chicago. It's like, no, you don't get a special advantage from that.
Yeah.
I mean, take out the big ads, please. But, like I didn't even get them on the show.
Right. There were, I think, like over 140 judges running. It was crazy.
It was,
Yeah.
and I really, it really was, and I really expected, to really not get much action at all, because the top of the ballot really had nothing.
Right.
And it's like the judges, and I thought the show too, it's like, what am I going to do for guests on the show?
Right.
The judges so flooded me. I mean,
yeah.
I had probably, I lost count. There were definitely more than 60 judicial interviews.
Right. Yeah, I believe it. I just in signage alone on the west side, it was incredible, the amount of signs. And every event that I'd go to, whether it was with Alderman Fioretti or Patricia, the amount of judges that partook in debates and things and forums, it was incredible. At least 50 to 60 every single time. So they were the hardest working of the crowd, it seemed, because they're on their own when they do this, basically.
They were.
You know?
Well, one of the things that really factored into it is the fact that you were not, the Supreme Court, in the past, if they didn't win an election, they just got reappointed.
Right.
The Supreme Court said this time, if you don't win the election, you're not getting reappointed.
Right, right.
And that's unfair to a lot of people, because what people have to understand is when somebody takes a temporary judge appointment, even though it's very prestigious, and it's about $160,000 or $170,000 a year, which is nice money, you've given up your career.
Right.
You've given up your job. You may not be coming back. You might have been a partner in a law firm.
True.
You may not be coming back. You might have been a prosecutor in the state's attorney's office. They've closed the gap. They're cutting down people in the state's attorney's office. You're not coming back.
Wow. Yeah.
So
and that is such a peculiar thing also in running for judge, because as they're running, that is the only time they can partake in politics and in campaigning and donate to other campaigns. Once that campaign is over, they can no longer do that. So they're out of the circuit for a certain amount of time, and I think that's kind of strange in itself, too.
It is. Plus, the way they're able to campaign, they can't quite get on the soapbox the way your other candidates can.
Right. They can't talk about issues as much, only
Oh,
their own selves.
They're not supposed to talk about issues.
No.
Nothing they might ever decide on.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's very peculiar, isn't it?
It really is.
It is. But it was fascinating, this primary. I thought it was the primary of women. We had a lot of women running.
No question about it. One of the things I'll say, and this might have factored into it, but in all the political interviews, and I interviewed more candidates than ever this time, I think I used less Q-tips to clean the you-know-what out of my ears than ever before. Maybe it was, I always thought it was maybe the judges, but maybe the women too.
Yes, maybe. I mean, we had 3 Supreme Court judges running, and then Patricia was running against a woman. It was very fascinating. It was very exciting to see that. I was very pleased with it.
It was, and by the way, not to mention anybody's name, because I don't want to tie this into any particular race, but the amount of people running who were lesbians.
Oh.
And you even had a lesbian versus lesbian state representative race, and everybody was open. I'm not revealing any deep secrets.
Very equal primary across the board.
So, I mean, there were, it's funny because there was one show I had done, and this is when I started to realize it. This is in 2010, where I had 5 guests and 3 of them were lesbians.
Wow.
And I didn't, and I don't know that going in.
Sure, of course
What
not.
happens is I'll Google somebody to make sure their name's spelled right after an interview.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I see partner, I'll see the Howard Brown Foundation.
Oh, something.
Or these other things that tell me,
right.
They're for the,
Right, sure. But that is a fascinating thing that, despite it all, people can walk in and do an interview, and it doesn't matter they're a woman, it doesn't matter their sexual orientation, their ethnicity anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to know any of that stuff when I interview people.
And I think that's a great level playing field, and it's an awesome thing to see happening. I'm sure over the years, you're probably astonished that you're seeing these sorts of things just happening now freely.
Oh, you have no idea. And there's as a matter of fact, I want to tell you, I had 2 judges and a high-ranking official who, I don't even want to say what department, talking about their joy in gay marriages publicly. I mean, I'm the public, I guess. I'm a reporter. And if they would have said that 20 years ago,
right.
I mean, they not only wouldn't have said it to each other,
right.
that would have gotten them all thrown out of office.
Sure.
It is a whole different world.
It's a whole different world. We've come a long way, thank God.
Yeah.
And we still have a lot to go.
Anyway, the world's definitely going to keep changing, that's for sure.
Yes.
At this point, I got to wrap things up. Kelly Tarrant, thank you so
much. Thank you.
If people want to contact you.
I'm on Facebook under Kelly Tarrant, and also they can go to the PrarieChicago.com website. I'm on there as well.
Very cool. I want to thank you. I want to thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hirsch. Thank you so much for getting me other guests for today.
No problem.
Who shall be on in other segments. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Check us out on the web at ntnm.org. We're going to be talking to some candidates. We'll be talking to some community people. We're mixing it up some. We're going to get more involved in the city also. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Bye-bye.